And we are back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and we're talking with Jolana Pettifer of Jolana's Exceptional Home Decor. Jolana, let's talk about small spaces like at the cottage or the cabin, or sometimes these cottages are massive now, but the traditional smaller spaces, but you have more people usually at the cottage than you do at home. I know with 4 kids, if everybody brings a friend for the weekend, I now have 8 young people. And if we bring friends, you're talking 12 to 14 people at the cottage on any given weekend. Not to mention the other cottagers who drop in for drinks in the afternoon and all this kind of stuff. So you're constantly having people. I know people who have bigger kitchens at the cottage than they do at home because they have more people at the cottage on a regular basis than they do at home. So how do we deal with small spaces but lots of peoples?
Again, everyone who knows me knows I love small spaces just as much as I love huge spaces. So in a bedroom, you don't always have room for a dresser. You just don't.
Nope.
But most people have a bed in the bedroom. Most people will have maybe one end table in a bedroom. So why not capitalize on the items that you've already got and have in that room? So for example, putting drawers underneath your bed. So if this is something where you're going to buy and purchase some furniture, look for something that's going to give you that ability to be able to put clothing in, linens in, things like that. And what's also great with a lot of and I think one of the bedrooms that we have on the website shows one of the beds, which is the black one, how the drawers are actually at the front. In their case, there is room to stand in front of it to open it up, not at the sides because they have end tables at the sides. So it was just, it just worked really well for them to be able to use that as their secondary storage space. There's no dresser in there. Make sure your end tables have some drawers. Again, capitalize on the pieces that you're putting into there. Again, hooks are awesome at a cottage. Don't just throw some hooks up on a wall. Go and find a piece of driftwood, barn board, reclaimed wood. Put it as your backdrop. Screw your hooks into it. You can even do the folding hooks, where you have 3 hooks in one. All of a sudden now, while you're there for the weekend, you can put up your towels, your bed robes. You can put your clothes up there. It has now become like this extra storage area. Again, don't forget the backs of doors. Great opportunity to put hooks or, to again, put more things into it. So every space that you have really needs to be utilized.
Right. And the big thing at the cottage is wet towels.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
You have to have hooks on the back of the doors because I try now to assign people a towel. Here's your towel. It'll last the weekend. We're not a hotel.
Yeah.
And I have a small washing machine. It's like an apartment-sized one.
Yeah.
I don't have time to be washing everybody's towels every time they leave them somewhere. So it's your towel. It's yours for the weekend. Yes, I have extras, but I'm not telling you where they are because that's yours for the weekend. So they need to be able to put it on the back of the door of their bedroom or the space that they're having to be sleeping in so that it'll be there. You know what? A really great source I found. First of all, there's a great store in Haliburton called Northern Expressions. It's right outside of town.
Yeah.
They have everything from hooks for doors that are horses and bears and moose, whatever you want. They're just a whole variety of stuff. But the local craft shows in the summertime, it's a nice thing to do in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday morning to go to the local craft shows. Haliburton has them, Bala, Muskoka, they're all over. They're great. And even if you have to drive a little bit, they are fantastic.
Sure they are.
And they have artisans who spend the whole year finding driftwood and large pieces of wood and making those things that you may not have the time or want to spend the time on. And you just go home and screw it into the wall. In my bathroom is a massive piece of driftwood with all kinds of hooks. I can hang 20 towels in that bathroom if I need to.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
And they're fantastic.
Make it interesting. Just be careful where you're putting things, especially if they stick out.
Yes.
Because you just want to make sure no one's going to clip their heads or
open the door and smash it every time they open the door.
Yeah, which happens too. So another way to address some small spaces, if you don't need the storage, you can put trundle beds underneath. Those So if if you've got company or kids coming over, bunk beds. Why not? If you can't go out, go up.
Yep. I have double bunk beds, and I'm sorry, but the double beds are for grown-ups, and the grown-ups sleep in the double bunk beds.
Yeah, right. So again, you're going to use pieces that are going to give you the most amount of function, and you still can make it pretty. My favorite part of doing cottages after we've delivered all the furniture is the actual staging. And again, there's a couple of small little examples with,
on the website.
Yeah, on the website.
Freshwaves.ca. Go there and go to Jolana's page. And on Jolana's page, you will see all kinds of pictures about the things that we're talking about today. And even if you're listening on the podcast, make it an interactive podcast. Listen to us, go to the website, freshwaves.ca, and see Jolana's wonderful pictures that go along with what we're talking about. With bedding, we have examples of bedding and throw cushions, colors of walls. Take a look at the whole picture, not just, that's a cool bed. No, take a look at the floor, the walls, the lighting.
The carpeting options, the lighting options.
Well, you said to me, there's the rope lamp. I said, what rope lamp? She said, look, that's a rope lamp. And I zoomed in on it.
Yeah, it's a rope lamp.
It's a rope lamp. I didn't even notice from the first time I looked at the picture. That was amazing. It's balls of rope. It's beautiful. It's so quirky. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's really organic looking because it's that rough.
Yeah, very much so.
Rough rope.
Yeah,
and
very
it's
much so.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and even, so for the bedroom upstairs, those are actually 2 double beds, but it's for a young man who's, I think, 12 years old. He loves to read. So instead of doing lamps, you'll see in the picture, there's a piece in the center in between the 2 beds. You really can't do 2 big lamps because it's going to look horrible. It's going to look too big. We were able to find these absolutely incredible LED lights that you just touch the tip of it to make it brighter, lighter, turn it on, turn it off.
Wow.
And it gives him total function for when he's in bed reading his books or his comics or what have you. So, when you are, again, trying to design your spaces and trying to find appropriate lighting is critical. Think about how it's going to be used. Don't just buy a lamp because you think it looks great. It has to serve a function.
Absolutely. And I think when you're dealing with a small space, you don't really have time or space for anything that doesn't have a practical purpose of some kind. I mean, yes, you have artwork on the wall, but even then, my artwork seems to have hooks all over it so that people can hang things up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so what about bathrooms at the cottage? I have to ask you because I find that many cottages have the smallest bathrooms known to mankind. Some of them are little narrow slips between bedrooms or kitchens or something. And they're super narrow. I mean, you really haven't got the door opens and that's about it. And the door doesn't even open back on itself. It just opens to a wall.
So, if a doorway or a door is becoming a real problem, and if space allows, what could be kind of fun is to do like a little sliding door, almost like a little barn door look.
Okay.
So right away you get rid of the, going into the space and trying to get around it to actually sit on the loo. Because some of them are very, very tiny. So this is again where I say function comes into play. I cannot tell you how important a mirror is in a small bathroom. The bigger the mirror, the bigger the bathroom looks. It's just the way it works.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Again, using the hooks and I like the folded hooks because if it's smaller, you can fold them out of the way, but when you need them, you just fold them out and it gives you, a place to put things.
Great idea.
Yeah. So, rolling your towels in a basket, depending if there's a tub, some cottages love the tub, some cottages just simply have the showers. So finding really great rustic baskets or bins, rolling up your towels and putting them into it instead of having like a dresser in a bathroom or a vanity. Some bathrooms just don't have that kind of space to be able to do that. So again, just make it pretty, make it functional. When you're choosing countertops, I mean, choose a countertop that's functional. It's a cottage. If kids are running in there, washing their hands, they're splashing all over the place. Just make sure it's not something you have to worry about.
I have a friend at and her cottage is really small, and we actually laugh about the fact that you can use the toilet and wash your feet at the same time in the bathtub.
The other thing that is really valuable in a small bathroom, the hotel shelving up above a toilet. So you've probably seen them where it gives you a couple of shelves where you can fold.
We used to call those a Johnny pole.
Yeah, or a Johnny pole. Same thing, yeah. So it's actually really fun when you have to start thinking about a space that's really small and what you can do to it to get the most amount into it that's also going to be beautiful and functional. It is so much fun. Absolutely so much fun.
You know, one of the things I did in the bathroom at the cottage after somebody lit a candle in there because there's one bathroom and 12 people that were using it that weekend. Anyway, and then they forgot that the candle was on and the candle lit the curtains and the curtains burned. Anyway, we avoided the cottage burning down, which was good. At one of the craft shows, I found a stained glass window that fit in there, and instead of putting it into the window frame, I hung it. So you
can use like aircraft cable. It's wonderful.
So it hangs as a curtain, and it's totally functional, and it looks beautiful because the light's always coming through, especially at the end of the day.
And it gives you that multicolor.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really funky too. It's not a traditional stained glass. It's got like a clothesline with clothes hanging on it, so it's really funky. And it's a neat idea because nobody can set it on fire.
Back to my battery operated candles.
Yes, but they don't cure the morning bathroom situation. Anyway,
natural sprays.
Yes, the sprays that you have are really good too. That's for sure. Okay, so let's move out of the bathroom now, and we do have to take a little break. So when we get back, we'll be talking about small spaces. We've talked about the bathroom. We've talked about the bedroom. Now we're going to talk about the kitchen and the living room, or the kitchen and the living area. You're listening to Fresh Waves, and we'll be right back with Jolana Pettifer.
Hey everyone, this is Lil J. Join me every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for the Block Party. A 2-hour journey of the best in the Canadian underground dance music scene, featuring tracks and DJ mixes from Canada's emerging artists, from the disco hits of the 70s to the latest dance floor fillers. No lineups or cover charges, it's your weekly free access to the beats that are packing dance floors in Canada and around the world. The Block Party, Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on 102.9 Whistle FM.
Hey, I'm whistling. Would you like to whistle too? Whistle FM is looking for a few good volunteers. Come and join our team and learn a new skill. We're looking for producers, show hosts, and even people to help out around the station. Learn something new and meet new people. Email us at admin@whistleradio.com or drop by the station behind Stillville Fine Furniture. We hope to see you soon.
We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. We're talking with Jolana Pettifer, and we're talking about cottage decorating. Now, we did the small spaces of the bedroom and the bathroom. We're moving back into the living space. One of the things that you can do in a living space is have a pull-out couch.
Sure you can. So that would be, again, another spot for you to offer someone else to stay. You just have to make sure, if you're going to do a pull-out couch, that you're not having to move everything out of the way in order to pull it out, because that's very awkward too. Murphy beds. If you're, having people come in once a month instead of every weekend, hey, why not use something like a Murphy bed? Because you're not going to take up the space for the other 3 weekends out of the month. You can use it as a little study or something. So pull-out beds, Murphy beds, blow-up beds. They're easy to store. You can pull them out of a closet to be able to do them. So anything that you can do to reduce clutter or making the cottage feel way too full, take full advantage of it. If you're using the beds all the time, then Murphy bed obviously may not be the best option, although they still are, because you can leave them down and then just put them up and out of the way when you go. So, yeah.
I like using a sofa bed, because every time I pull it out, I usually have to move the coffee table. And every time I move the coffee table, it gives me the opportunity to look at the pile of magazines and say, okay, we don't need 50. Let's whittle this down to 3 or 4.
Yeah. And talking about magazines, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a segue here. If you're out and about at the cottage and you see some really old, crazy old wooden ladders, pick them up because they can be used as a magazine rack. They take up no space and people can clearly see what magazines that you have. You can put blankets on them. So if it's again something where it might get a little bit chilly at night, just throw 8 or 10 blankets. Everyone has a blanket to use. It just adds that warmth factor and it shows people that you care.
Yeah, it's so cute.
So yeah, so again, you've got to just really think outside the box for what you can do with your space.
And if you can't do that, because I know a lot of us can't, me, often we can't visualize what a space is other than the very first way that it was always set up. So you walk in and you think, no, the couch has to go there and the end tables have to go there and the coffee, well, why? Because they've always been there.
So we go into, as you know, many homes where the purpose of the consultation is to give them the best layout for their furniture depending on how they want to use the space. So a lot of cottages may have beautiful windows that look onto a lake. So instead of doing, 2 sofas and 2 chairs, why not do 4 chairs that swivel so you can turn around and enjoy this magnificent sight? Right. Maybe just have 1 sofa. So again, it kind of gives you a multi-purpose. In a bedroom, same thing. You may have a huge, beautiful window. You've got your king-size bed or queen-size bed or double, whatever. Couple of nightstands, a bench at the foot of your bed, and it still affords you an opportunity to put a couple of chairs. Make sure they swivel, so you can look at the bed, you can look at a TV if you have it in there, swivel it around and enjoy the absolutely beautiful view that, 99.999 cottages have.
Yeah. I know your friends are really important and you want to be sitting in a cluster kind of with your friends, but nothing makes me sadder than seeing a cottage with a couch underneath a window that's facing into the back of the cottage. Your cottage is really nice, but when you're up north, for me personally, I love to see outside.
Absolutely.
And people say, you can't see outside at night. Turn the lights off inside and see how beautiful the moon looks on the lake or the stars look in the sky. Yeah. It's just, to me, that's what being at the cottage is all about. So I love the views. Yeah.
And whether it's a big, huge cottage or a super small cottage, they are every bit as charming if everything is appropriated.
And I know that
beautifully.
We had a listener that called in and she said she hates wooden floors, wooden walls, wooden ceiling, feel like I'm living in a box, don't want it. How about wainscoting, where the wood goes halfway up? Is that an option or is that a dated kind of a look?
Again, like I said at the beginning, it depends on the look that you're trying to create. Now, if she hates her wood walls, why wouldn't you paint it? Give it that Cape Cod look on the inside. Paint it a warm white. There are things you can do. You just have to make sure you use the proper products. Go see Inside Out. They'll fix you up with everything that you need because a lot of people have pine on their walls, which has a lot of knots in it. So if you just, paint it, it's not going to do well. The knots will. Yeah, so just make sure when you go into a paint store, you give them all the information they need to help you the best to their ability so that you're happy with the end result.
I guess you could take a picture in, couldn't you, and say...
Of course you could. Here's my thoughts. Can you help me? Yeah. Painting wood floors in a bedroom. Why not? Have fun with it. Just understand.
I never thought of that.
Yep. Just understand if it's going to get a lot of wear and tear, it's going to give you that real antique-y look, which to me is actually awesome.
It's a nice look, isn't it?
If you like that, perfect floor, then you're not going to do that. But if you want it to give it that, old country cottage, rustic, do a checkerboard navy and white, paint it. Oh my goodness. You really can think outside the box. If you want to do area carpets, just make sure you use carpets that are, again, not going to be an issue with respect to dampness, mold, what have you. There's indoor, outdoor carpets that are beautiful. And unless you get really, really close to them, you don't even realize that they are an indoor-outdoor carpet.
Okay.
So,
now, we've got another listener, Joe, who likes the wooden cottage feel, but has moved into a cottage that is brand new. It was kind of a kit cottage. So vinyl siding on the outside. The inside is drywall, builder's grade carpet on the ground, built to flip and sell. Now, how do they bring the cottage feel into that?
Easy.
Space.
3/4 beadboard with a nice slip up above it. Paint it. Right away you're bringing in that sort of woodsy feel, three-dimensional
feel. I think the average person doesn't know what you just said.
Beadboard? Beadboard is, let's say 3-inch pieces of wood that will have a V groove in between each one. So as you put them together, it creates a really nice look. Then putting a molding at the very top of it, painting it out or staining it. Again, everyone is so different when it comes to...
So this is putting wood on the walls.
On the walls, yeah. You're actually going to create more texture, more three-dimensional to it. Run hardwood up your wall, up your headboard wall in your master bedroom. Looks unbelievable. I wouldn't recommend on a headboard wall to do like a reclaimed, because typically a reclaimed wood, unless it has a little bit of a finish, it's going to be a dust catcher, and when you go to dust it, it's going to catch your cloth or whatever you have. So you just want to be careful what you're choosing to put there.
Because he said, what about leaving the drywall and putting a wood ceiling?
Sure. Yeah, you can create beam detailing if you want on the ceilings. Again, it's really hard for me to answer his questions without actually physically seeing a picture.
Space,
if he can send us a picture, I probably could give him more direction. And instead of painting your trim white, depending on what your color palette is, choose a color for your trim. I mean, you can think differently in a cottage space than you might in your own home.
Right. And you know what? If it is your place of relaxing, relax, take it easy,
That's it.
Do something fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Jolana, as always, our time goes by so quickly.
I cannot believe it. I just looked at the clock and it's like, oh, this is just too much fun, and I'm sorry I can't stay longer today.
You have all kinds of notes written down there. Have you said everything you want to say about cottages?
Probably not.
You were saying to keep the linens simple.
Oh, yes. Okay, so vacuum packing your linens.
Okay.
Again, this comes down to a storage issue and a space issue. If you get the bags where you can put your vacuum cleaner in it, suck out all the air, that 3-foot or 2-foot linen shrinks to like 6 inches. So use that. They're
and then
available.
You can put it under the bed.
Absolutely. The shopping channel, everybody, you can find it. Using white linens, like your top sheet, your bottom sheet, your pillowcases, no matter what colors are in, no matter what colors you choose to do in your cottage, whether it's a Ralph Lauren theme or a Tommy Hilfiger or a nautical or what have you, all you need to do is add a different colored pillowcase, whether it's striped or solid or patterned. Your white sheeting is always going to be your base. If you're going to look for blankets, look for cotton blankets, because they're cool, they're warm, they're both. They do kind of everything that you need them to do.
And the silk duvets are a nice idea, because again, they're cool in the summer, but they're warm and toasty in the winter.
Yeah, they've also got the Hilton duvets. I don't know if you've seen them. They're very, very thin. So if you stay at a Hilton hotel, they usually have a bottom sheet, then this very thin, and then they have a top sheet, and they wrap it over.
Right.
So there are so many things out there. All you need to do is to sit down one afternoon with your cup of coffee or your glass of wine and do a little bit of research on the internet.
Yep. The research and the project thing, people tend to say that for their homes. It's just as important at the cottage.
I think it's even more important at the cottage. Yeah, space for games. Like,
and
you've gotta think about it.
Jolana gets to travel to all these great places all over Ontario and cottage country. But you know what? It's nice to, if you're going to spend the money and do something right, do it right from the very beginning and have someone like you involved from the beginning can help you on the path. Because once you get the path, then it's easy to pick out the things that are going to match your theme or your goal.
It is ultimately, if you can call us at the beginning, it's great, but don't panic if you've gotten to the end and you go, I can't do this. We also would love to help you.
One thing I made a mistake with, and I would probably never do again, is I have a really nice upholstered bench and matching chairs with thick upholstery in the kitchen.
Right.
The number of times people come in with wet bathing suits on
you're better off with
and sit
wood
down. I should have gone with wood or outdoor furniture and put it inside the cottage. Just because even a wicker base is easier to dry than this thick upholstered chairs. They're comfortable to sit on in the winter, but in the summer, I'll arrive on the next weekend and think, why does the place smell so musty? And then I have to put all of the chairs and the bench out on the deck to dry it out in the sunshine because people have been sitting on it with wet bathing suits. And like you said, then it's another thing you have to stress out about and you have to put the sign up, no wet bathing suits.
Or go and buy yourself really inexpensive thin pads that they'll take the brunt of the wet and the dirt and the what have you. Even if it's an upholstered seat, there are very, very thin tie-on pads that you can put on. Yeah, they're everywhere. Outdoor stores.
Oh, great. Well, one of the best things for space saving that I've ever done with that cottage was the bench in the kitchen. First of all, instead of having 4 people specifically on that side, we've squished 6 or 7 people
and
on
you
that
have
side.
Storage in it too.
It opens up to store everything, all the napkins, the extra bags of coffee.
That's it.
Coasters, all that kind of stuff is inside that bench. It is such a valuable storage area. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Extra seating and storage, all in one.
Absolutely.
We
have just come full circle, haven't we?
We have. And you know what? I'm going to have to go and check out those end tables that have chairs underneath them, little benches underneath.
No, coffee table.
Coffee table.
With the benches underneath them. Yeah, it just gives you the extra seating.
What a great idea.
Or you pull it out and it's an ottoman for your feet when you're sitting on a chair.
That has to be women in the workplace. Get your feet off the coffee table. Use the bench that's underneath it. My coffee table is actually a blanket box at the cottage.
Perfect storage again, right?
Again,
so,
every space I can gather. The cottage is 1,026 square feet.
That is
and
the
there
trick.
are 6 of us on a regular basis. Let me tell you, you have to be kind of creative. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, Jolana. Please drop us a line if you have any questions for Jolana. We always pass the questions along. Jolana and I have been friends for years, and we always manage to get her the questions and the answers to your questions. If you need to know anything about Jolana, you can Google Jolana's Exceptional Home Decor, and they have a beautiful website. And you can see the pictures from the show that we've been discussing today on freshwaves.ca. Thank you for joining us for this first hour. Do stay tuned. We have another great hour of country decorating. We're going to be talking with Corey Smith. He's just opened a new store in Ballantrae called Urban Rustic Decor. He's right on Musselman's Lake. And he has some really interesting things, the kind of funky add-ons.
Which is so
awesome. And some handcrafted stuff, also some jewelry and things. So we'll be talking to him in a second. Again, thank you, Jolana, for coming on. Really appreciated having you. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time together.
Thank you. Love being here, as always.
Thanks. Jay, take it away.
Somewhere between a boy and man. She was 17 and she was far from in between. It was summertime in northern Michigan. Splashing through the sandbar, talking by the campfire. It's the simple things in life, like when and where we change. Oh, how we thought those days would never end. Sometimes I hear that song and I'll start to sing along and think, man, I'd love to see that girl again. Man, I'd like to see that girl again. And we were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite song, sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. We were trying different things, and we were smoking funny things, making love out by the lake to our favorite song, sipping whiskey out the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow, singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long, 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 singing Sweet Home